Alrighty, guys, we are here for week number 2, technically, of our Vainglory CSL tournament. We're going to pass off to Belligerent, who's going to do some introductions, guys.
Welcome in, everybody. I am Belligerent. With me tonight is SRef. Another fall season brings some exciting collegiate vainglory to CSL. Tonight, we have a great matchup between Missouri, Kansas City, and Maryville. Missouri, Kansas City currently sitting at 0-2. So a rough start of the season, but they need a win tonight for a chance to stay positive this season on their record. They lost to UT Arlington in week 1 and lost to Houston last week in week 2. Maryville coming in and 1-1. Very excited to have this team expanding into vainglory. Sasco, one of their players, is one of the League of Legends players, and Wei Ting is their League of Legends analyst, and that's exciting for me. I'm sure it's also exciting for you, seeing some League players expanding into the mobile MOBA genre.
Yeah, I'm really excited of it because, I mean, personally, I'm from League as well, so it's kind of cool to see that happen. So, but we're right in the draft right away, and we're going to have Maryville here on the A side with the Saw band coming out first.
Saw very strong in the
Oops, sorry about
two
that.
point. Saw very strong in the new 2.9 update, getting that weapon power buff. A Grace Band comes out, followed up quickly by Catherine and Arden. Arden currently considered to be one of the stronger captains, while Catherine is seeing a little bit of a fall off because of the nerf to her heroic perk there.
Yeah, the cut in half of the bonus armor and shield that you got is kind of interesting, but it might have been a pickup because we did to try and stop UMKC from that because they did pick up Catherine in all their games last week, so we kind of interesting.
Yeah, we have Ringo and Idris. Looks like both going to be in the lane, and Maryville with a chance here to go with that Cath Batiste combo if they want to pick it up. We'll have to wait and see which way they're going to go with the Cath Batiste combo, known to be a very, very strong comp in Vainglory. With the fear and the echoed silences and the stuns, just a lot
Uh-oh.
of CC to handle there. Looks like we had a little hiccup in the draft, so we'll just get that started.
Yeah, we're gonna jump back here real quick to our screen because it looks like somebody forgot to lock in there. But it looked like they were contemplating putting that Idris as CP and making a weapon power glaive come out. I mean, I guess technically you can still move. I've seen some people try and move the glaive back to like the CP kind of proc jungle, but I feel like CP Idris is still really strong though. We saw him kind of have his
Yeah,
heyday in the last couple patches.
CP Idris is very strong. Uh, Typically, the way I think we see Idris played at the pro level, and uh, with some of the new items like Spell Sword, there is the opportunity for people to take a weapon power glaive and build him much like the cooldown glaive we used to see that used to be very strong, where it's used more for utility, just getting that afterburn off every 5 or 6 seconds. And then just letting the rest of your team burst them down. So that is a possibility, not something that I've seen become very popular at the pro level, but definitely an opportunity there if you wanted to go with a weapon power glaive.
Yeah, it could be interesting, especially since like he right when the 2.9 came out, he seemed like he was struggling a lot though too. They had to readjust his health stats and whatnot because he was just getting decimated in the jungle role, which is what everybody had been using him for a while. It felt like. So it seems like after those adjustments, he kind of is trying to fall back into the meta, but it's kind of back and forth, I guess. I mean, depending on how you feel. I mean, if Glaive's a comfort pick, you can still probably make it work, honestly.
Yeah, certainly. And looking at the rest of the draft, while we're waiting to jump back in here for these final picks, I do like the Catherine pick first, knowing that you wanted to take the Idris, because Catherine known to be one of the best counters into the Idris. So it's good if you're not going to ban the Catherine. It's good not letting it go over to the other team to counter that Idris there.
Yeah,
Arden, go ahead.
I was gonna say yeah. Catherine is very prolific with her stun to keep Idris from being able to be mobile in a lot of team fights, which kind of spells his demise if he can't get out of fights. not normally the tankiest of heroes, normally reliant on those abilities to dodge in and out of fights to dodge a lot of damage.
Right, and a very skilled Catherine will be able to stun that Arden out of his gauntlet, because it does take a minute for him to land there when he starts to wind up that gauntlet drop. A skilled Catherine player will be able to use that Merciless Pursuit and stun the Arden out. But on the other side, for UMKC, we have the Arden and the Ringo that's come out so far. A good pairing. Arden can be considered to be one of the strongest captains in the current meta. Ringo, not used very often, but he is always kind of that fallback. He has some, some very basic abilities that make him a very easy hero to hold on to. One of the things that Ringo does struggle from, however, is the fact that he has no type of escape, but that Arden Gauntlet will give him that speed burst and the barrier to help him escape some situations where he might need to get out of.
Yeah, definitely. I think Arden, with how the reason he's so strong now too, just for everybody's heads up, they kind of reworked how armor and shielding work, which is what reduced the damage you take, and health. So health kind of got a buff. So a lot of Arden's abilities are based off his health. His Vanguard, his A that gives you that shield, is based off of how much health he has. So it kind of got a pretty good buff with the amount that everybody kind of got a health buff. So he's able to use that to, come back into being one of the top tier captain picks for pretty much everyone now.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of everybody's health points, hit points got reworked, whereas Glaive, Lance, Finn used to be at the top, like with 2,000, somewhere between 2,000 and 2,200 health points. And now you're talking about Petal at the low end of the HP is sitting at 1,900, is where some of the top uh, the more tankier characters are sitting up around like 2,700 HP.
Yeah.
So and Arden's Vanguard does a barrier based on the percentage of his HP. So his barrier got a indirect buff. Same way items like Aftershock got an indirect buff because they do a percentage of HP damage.
Yeah, it makes it kind of shifting the game a little bit just from how it was before because of how shielding and health worked. And it's just SCMC kind of putting their time in, making sure things look very, like balance the game out. Obviously they got 5v5 on the horizon, so that might be partially the reason why they did this, but it also shakes up the meta and allows us to see kind of new varying builds and new heroes come out that may or may not have been as popular before, just because they might have been too squishy or not very reliant on defensive items. But now they all have a little bit more health, or item, like you said with Aftershock too, is a lot of Aftershock heroes or something like that we've seen come out too, even in pro play.
Yeah, definitely. And I suspect, I don't have any insider knowledge, but I suspect a lot of the things that we're seeing come out now are in preparation for that 5v5, the crystal items getting a rework, splitting up the items, making players think more specifically about what they want to build and what they want to accomplish. I think that's going to lend itself well to the 5v5 mode that's getting ready to come out. Churnwalker, if you look at Churnwalker, who's has the life sustain based on how many heroes he has chained, also dealing damage to everybody that he has chained whenever his team is causing damage on one of the people that he has chained. That's going to be a very strong ability set that Churnwalker, the new hero, has when 5v5 rolls around and you can have 4 or 5 heroes chained at once.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts. I love Churnwalker, and after this weekend with VG8, we got to see some pro play on 2.9. So it's gonna be interesting to see if any of these people might have picked up on that and see if maybe a Churnwalker does come out. I mean, it didn't look like so in the first draft, but we saw some interesting Churnwalker play from Flash X and some of the other pros this weekend, which is for me really exciting because I think Churnwalker is great, and he, like you said as well, he's gonna have a very large impact on when these team fights go from 3v3 to 5v5. The fights are going to be nuts with him being able to kind of control what's going around him by hooking everyone together and stuff like that, sharing the damage.
Yeah, Flash being really the only player this weekend that was able to make Churnwalker work successfully. We did see a few others try to use it, but Flash was able to win. Flash in one weekend was able to make Churnwalker bannable against TSM when, when teams started realizing just how good he was on Churnwalker. And it makes sense to me because Churnwalker feels very much like a Flash X type hero. When I look at Churnwalker, the way he's played, you have to put a lot of thought into what you're doing with Churnwalker. You have to remember to rehook people after you set your stun. You have to know when to get in and when to get out. And Flash known for being a very cerebral captain on TSM.
Yeah, definitely. And he was on point with it. It just showed that he spent the time on it to play it and learn it before the weekend. You know, it's not like they had a whole lot of time because they switch from week to week sometimes when these new patches come out. But he played it really well. Like again, like you said, being able to understand the mechanics of it really quickly and make a profound impact. I feel like Walker's biggest advantage is his ability to like reset fights and control how the fight moves. And you said with Flash X, he's kind of known for that. He's known to be able to change the like landscape of a fight based on how he moves in a fight and how he uses his abilities to try and give his team the best possible engagement or disengage, whatever it may be. And Churnwalker has a lot of ability and power to do that. So it's kind of interesting to see how that works. And we're still look like we're having some issues here. I just got bumped out of the party. So
Out of the party, yeah.
Yeah,
I did as well.
All right, so
Wow.
we're gonna be a couple more minutes, guys. It looks like though, because we're after that first draft, we seem to be struggling a bit. So give us a little bit while here on that. But yeah, Churnwalker is, I love him. I play him a ton in solo queue right now, and I'm looking forward to see him played more by other people as well in both CSL and in BG8.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're not going to get to see him this match because we've already seen the captains be picked.
Yeah.
But hopefully we do see some teams start to branch out, throw that in. While we're waiting to get the technical difficulties back in order, let's just take the chance to remind people, if you want to join our Discord community, just type !Discord in the chat here on Twitch, and that'll hook you up with the link for our Discord. You can also follow CSL on Twitter at C Star League and CSL Vainglory as well for CSL Vainglory specific content. And they also have a Facebook page, which you can find at facebook.com/C Star League. Also, we always want to give a shout out for Twitch. Always nothing but gratitude for the largest streaming platform in gaming to support collegiate esports from PAX East and West and many more events. The CSL wouldn't be what it is today without the help and support from them. Be on the lookout for cool opportunities to get involved with Twitch in the near future, and be sure to show them some love for their support on twitter.com/Twitch and also on facebook.com/Twitch. So it looks like we are jumping back into the draft. We should see the bands and the first 4 picks come out relatively quickly, and we'll finally get to see what they're going to pick. The glaive does come out. We were discussing that, and that's going to be countered by Petal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the Petal pickup coming through here. I feel like it could be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, now one thing to know is that Petal has seen a little bit of a nerf in her build. Typically, when you're going to go Crystal, which it looks like they're going to do here on Nike on this Petal here, you would imagine. I don't expect to see a Crystal Power Ringo, but when you go Crystal Power Petal, what was always so strong about her was the Frostburn effect, being able to slow everybody down with those Munions. However, the Munions no longer proc the slow on Frostburn, so I'm going to be interested to see what Nike builds on this Petal.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. That Frostburn change was like her core item almost that you saw almost all the time because it just made her so powerful with those Munions. So it would be interesting to see. I actually did not know that the Frostburn changed. I know they had buffed it, but it makes sense that that the Munions don't slow, because that might be a little bit overpowered if they slowed as much as Frostburn does now. You would never get away from Petal and anything. But it looks like we're going to have a team fight maybe right off the bat. Both teams rotating towards the Elder Treant in the middle, but no one doing those back starts to start. No, looks like they're both going to just start their fronts and take their own way. No super early engagement here.
Yeah, nothing going on much right now. Just farming really is all that's going on. So,
Both teams
It
not
looks
wanting
like
to give up that Elder Treant, though. Yeah, both kind of posturing like they want to fight, but I don't know if Maryville wants to take this early fight against the Petal, to be honest.
Yeah, Petal is very strong despite the changes to Frostburn, but early game Petal is very strong. So if I were UMKC, I would be looking for engage this. I would just push this jungle really hard right now.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing. The Steel tried to come out on that middle Treant by the glaive, but Catherine taking a ton of damage from Petal now, having to back off, and he's gonna push it still. I mean, he might as well. They hit level 2 already, so they have that advantage. So they're gonna actually take the full jungle rotation. This is really smart play by the University of Missouri Kansas City to be aggressive when they know they can be, and use that power spike. But it looks like Catherine actually able to steal their back Treant. That's a little fortunate for Maryville.
Wei Ting making a great play there, using the Merciless Pursuit to steal away the Treant. I felt like Nike a little hesitant to go in. Looked like he was a little wary of the glaive, but I think he wins that matchup if he pushes it, which just gave glaive just enough time to get away there.
Yeah, especially with glaive still only level 1, they're gonna they should, and they are keep pressing the issue here, because glaive can almost do nothing right now. All he has is the afterburn, so he doesn't have his second ability to help clear out the minions, which would be nice. But this is gonna be a rough start for Maryville because of the pressure coming out from the University of Missouri Kansas City here. They're just stealing all their backs. I mean, lane's pretty standard of them farming, but there's no farm coming for this glaive, and he's just going to suffer for a long time because of it, it looks like.
Yeah, I would really like to see some counter jungling coming out of Maryville, see them go through the lane, somehow get over into UMKC's jungle and counter jungle, because that jungle hasn't been touched, and if they were to go take that farm, that's going to catch them up on gold really quickly. But this Petal just wreaking havoc. Petal considered a traditional counter to both glaive and Catherine there, so being able to push her weight around right now.
Yeah, exactly. They're just using it and they're living in Maryville's jungle. And like you said, they should have probably tried to rotate to try and steal the jungle to try and even out the gold a little bit. Unfortunately, they didn't do that. And we're just going to see this glaive be starved out for a while here. We'll notice that more when this Petal finally goes back to buy the gold difference. Petal has 1,000 more gold in the bank right now than glaive. That's quite a hefty thing to be down this early in the game, especially overall. They're down 2k gold because of the lack of ambient gold that Catherine's getting as well. And here comes like a 3-man fight on the 2. Yeah, this might be good for Maryville. They get the afterburn off on Petal, but Petal already still has Leap and is going to run away.
Yeah, I was just about to point that out. 0 kills, and at 3.5 minutes already a 2k gold lead. That is insane. Nike on this Petal at 26 farm, 3 ore, and Wei Ting combined have 3 farm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking some serious gold differential here. Dark Knight caught out a little bit here, though.
Yeah, a little bit caught out. That's the one thing you do have to be extremely worried about on this Ringo, is that he doesn't have those escapes without the art in there. It looks like glaive wanted to go for the afterburn, but a little bit too far away. Arden's going to be coming back to lane. Krishna going to be able to hopefully keep that Ringo safe in lane, keep them with their lead, and keep it moving forward here, it looks like.
Yeah, another thing that we could have seen in response to these jungle invades is 3 ore rotating up to the lane and just using his afterburn to pick off Dark Knight and helping Sasko just get some kills and get some gold that way. But there's some engages going on here.
Yeah, kind of a back and forth fight. It looks like Arden did steal that Treant, and then they tried to do some damage to Petal, but it's not going to work. And first blood goes down. Arden gets the kill onto glaive. Maybe not who you want to get the first blood, but I'm pretty sure they'll be happy with taking first blood anyway. And they're actually going to keep pushing here. They do have the advantage. Petal is pretty beefy. She's level 6 already. The 3-on-2 against the Crystal Miner earlier isn't going to deter them. And oh man, are those Minions? Oh man, it just barely lives with a sliver of health. The Minions were just barely out of aggro range, but he doesn't get out all the way, and they end up cleaning up the kill afterwards. And this is looking really, really nice for the University of Missouri Kansas City. Like last week, it seemed like they were struggling with some of their engages and stuff like that, but it seems like they buckled down and try and worked on their rotations, and their mid laners or their laners being really safe. Their jungler and their captain are moving around together, and they're really pushing their advantage around right now, and that's really impressive to see from them, especially from last week where felt like they were almost struggling in a lot of instances.
Yeah, last week they were even struggling in a match where we saw one member from the other team disconnected for probably about half of the match, and they still weren't able to push the advantage. But right now they are seriously in control, up just under 3K gold, and definitely using their advantage. We see the alternating current come out on Nike first. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of this. I think Shatterglass would have been a much better first item, but we'll see how it works out here for Nike.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of depending on if he wants to try and use his auto attacks more, I guess, is how he's feeling about it. Because Shatterglass would buff your money damage a little bit more. But we'll see. I mean, they're in a pretty nice position. The gold lead's nice. They don't have any turrets yet, but we'll see how that goes. If they want to try and continue this game how they've been doing, their next objective should be to try and put some pressure in the lane. And that's what it looks like with Petal and Arden. Here they come out, and they're going to open up on the glaive right away, it looks like. The gauntlet comes down. The entire team is trapped. No one's gotten stunned yet, but they can't get away. And Glaive died really fast there, and Idris just barely able to get away. There is an ult up for Dark Knight on this Ringo. He might have been able to cast that on the Idris in the middle of the fight. He's going to do it now. But I felt that would have put a lot more pressure on them if he used that in the middle of the fight, because he was kind of far away from Idris after they killed the Glaive.
Yeah, I didn't catch it in the moment, but when I did look back at it, he's very low on energy, so he might have ran out of energy, and which might have prevented him from casting it at that point in time. So, but I'm very impressed with UMKC and their rotations and just knowing how to push these fights. It looks like it's a completely different team from last week when we casted their match against Houston. And so I really like the direction that they're going right now. Let's see if they can keep it up. See if Nike is able to continue to just push his advantage on this Petal. They seem to be very, very well focused on when to rotate into the enemy jungle. They push their advantage in the lane, and then they rotate down, take some more farm. And Nike is at 53 CS right now compared to 3Or's 15 in the jungle. It's getting a little out of hand.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, Glaive is good, but here comes an Afterburn. They're going to open up on the Arden. Probably not the target they want to go on, but I don't think they have the damage to take him out at this point. Doesn't look like it. They're going to have to fall back almost immediately. Only that tension bow completed on the Glaive. He did go shielding first to try and help himself against that Petal, but here we go. As soon as they force him out of lane, they're back in the enemy jungle. UKMC going for the last life on the Crystal Sentry. This is really smart play. They haven't been able to get the turret, but they have been able to clear out that sentry, which is going to give them the ability to, as you see, put these scout traps down and give them a lot more vision and be able to make a lot smarter plays, knowing where the enemy team is almost at all times.
Yeah, that is phenomenal objective focused by UMKC here, taking out that Crystal Sentry, eliminating it from the game under 9 minutes. As coach for Nova, the goal that I give our guys is to get it eliminated by the 9-minute mark, and we struggle with that a lot of times, and seeing UMKC here be able to accomplish it is just tremendous. Their rotations are just on point right now.
Yeah, it's really impressive to see how well they're doing. And looks like Glaive coming in, another Afterburn onto the Arden, but here it comes. They kill the turret, and then the Gauntlet comes out immediately. Glaive's going to be in a lot of trouble. Yeah, he's going to go down. Idris trying to do some poke damage there, but there's no Catherine here. Catherine's in the jungle farming, which is a little odd for them, so they're losing a lot more here than they probably needed to. Maryville seeming a little bit distraught from how this early game has gone to put them in a position where they're just so far behind. And they're just continuing taking the jungle on rotation as they buy and finding picks here and there, and it's going really well.
Yeah, definitely going well for UMKC, as where Maryville is very much struggling to find their footing. So they're just gonna have to turtle up. Yeah, it was a little odd to see their captain down in the jungle while they were losing lives in the lane. With Maryville having such a League of Legends background, I'm wondering if the pace of Vainglory is something that they still need to get used to and find their synergy on.
Yeah, that is something that even from my own perspective I see, and I still play both games fairly regular now, but when I first started playing, I picked up League again to try and get more excited about Worlds, like most people do. It looks like a little bit of engaged though, we'll get back to that here in a second. Stun comes out, but they're going to open up onto this Idris. The Afterburn comes in, but I don't know if that was the best Afterburn to go for. He does get the damage down on it, but it buys time for Idris to get away, but Petal's going to be able to get out of this one. Ringo getting chased down by the Merciless Pursuit. But Catherine breaks off with the Ringo. I feel like Catherine could have finished him there, but another great afterburn comes in, and they finally kill Petal. That was it seemed like a little bit of a wonky fight because they were on different targets, but Idris and Glaive were able to kind of focus in on Petal and land the stuns they needed to burst her down. So signs of life for Maryville here. But as I was saying, the game, like you said, the pace of the game is so drastically different. Like 11 minutes is nothing in League of Legends. Well, we're fighting over almost everything all the time. Lots of team fights going on in 11 minutes in Vainglory. And Arden a little bit caught out, a little bit late on the reflex block, but they do end up killing Glaive. Because this Arden so tanky from those health buffs. Look at him. He's not even scared at below half health into the Idris and the Catherine.
Yeah, I feel like that in that last team fight that UMKC just overextended, possibly getting and it goes down onto Sasco.
Yeah, but it looks like they're gonna be able to get out of this one. Fountain is that a Fountain? No, they just both. Yeah, no, Fountain was actually popped there, so it does look like they're gonna get out of that one. Yeah, they seem like. Go ahead on your UMKC thing, because it seemed like that fight was a little odd for them. How Petal died.
Yeah, I feel almost like they're getting a little overconfident. Maybe pushing their advantage a little too much. Right here we see Petal trying to just 1v1 the Glaive with no backup from Krishna. Glaive does go down because he did have backup from Ringo show up, but I see it a lot in solo queue or when I rank without a team, or sometimes I have even fallen victim to it myself, where you just build this dominating lead, and right now they're up 6k gold, and that's going to go up more once they get this gold miner. And you just get this lead and you feel invincible and you play out of position, you make mistakes. And that's what UMKC did there in that fight earlier in the lane when Maryville was able to get their first kill, Glaive finding Nike on the afterburn. And the bad thing about that is Nike at the time was 4-0, and so you just gave over a huge sum of bounty gold to a team that you were just smothering at the time. So they have to be very careful not to get overconfident, not to play out of position. We only see one tier 3 item on this Glaive on 3-or, who has not apparently gone back to the shop yet. I think it's really time for him to get back to the shop, but you do not want to give anything back to Maryville at this point, because you're so far ahead that the bounties and stuff like that. And the thing about Vainglory is that one team fight can completely flip a match on its head.
Yeah, especially at this point in time when the death timers get a little bit longer. If you give a clean ace over, oh no, another fight going in, Ringo gets afterburned out, takes a large chunk of his health. Gauntlet comes down to try and deter them from going in, and it does deter Maryville for now as they fall back. It looks like UMKC is going to fall back into the enemy team's jungle, and this should be Maryville's chance to shine. There's no gauntlet up, and of course their Catherine is out of energy to use her blast tremor. I was going to say, if she had that, this could be completely different. But Glaive, unable to get in there, and gets blown up by Petal and Ringo. Idris is just going to have to, he's going to try and 1v1 the Ringo, or is he trying to get out? It looks like he's going to try and get out. And
yeah,
this is the downside of not having your crystal sentry, though, right there. The enemy team took cover in your jungle and was able to take a team fight.
Exactly, yeah. And it was, Sasco was trying to get away from Dark Knight there. Wasn't trying to engage, but was trying to fight him off, so he could get away. The problem that I'm seeing with Maryville right now is they're just playing so out of position. They're scattered all over the place. And UMKC is really taking advantage of it. They're separating them and just taking them off like 3v1 in almost all of these matches.
Yeah, they're kind of just, they fall back, they fountained up, and they just waited till Glaive kind of came in with Catherine by themselves, and like, all right, cool, let's kill Glaive. And it looks like another kind of mispositioning here. Catherine in a really bad spot. There's no way she's getting out of this. Yeah, that was awkward. Glaive went one way, Catherine tried to follow, and Catherine ended up being the sacrificial lamb there for trying to follow her jungler around. And it looks like Easy Kraken start going to be coming here. There's only going to be 2 of them starting while Ringo kind of clears out at the turret. We'll see what Sasko wants to do here, though. He kind of is sitting on the edge, but there's not a whole lot he's going to be able to do without any vision. Good control there by SKMC to take that Kraken very quickly, and it's going to be interesting to see what Maryville is going to be able to do here on defense, if anything. I mean, they've had some really good afterburns. They have a Sorrow Blade finally up on the glaive, so hopefully he's going to be able to do a little bit more damage. With a good afterburn, I feel like they might be able to take a fight, but they really need to have some precision stuns go on in here.
Yeah, I would really like to see 3or and the rest of Maryville try and target Nike on this pedal. He has been mispositioning and has 0 defense, just a reflex block, is where Dark Knight, if you manage to grab him with the afterburn, he can withstand Sasko because he has a full Aegis up right now. So, and Krishna going very low after dropping the gauntlet.
Yeah, but 3or dies first, and then Catherine is getting a lot of damage in front. Pedal almost going down. Nike gonna run out of that one, but they already got 2 turrets and they're feeling okay. And Dark Knight going for the 1v1 on Idris. He knows he has the Aegis already to reduce some of that damage, and no fear pretty much there. And they're definitely going to get at least 3 turrets out of here. They're going to try for the 4th. They might actually try for the game-ending push here. They do have 8 more seconds left on the glaive, but
they might. It is a very dangerous position they're in right now. Kraken's going to go down, glaive is up, but Ringo just doing work on this crystal, and we'll finish the game.
Yep, Ringo just melts down the crystal sentry, and that's going to be a first win coming out, or for this series at least, is UMKC is going to take the 1-0 lead over Maryville. And
in very dominating fashion, coming from a team who really needs the win right now, sitting at 0-2 on the season. They really need to pull this series off. They really need to work together well. So we'll see how Maryville can come back and respond in the second match.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and you guys can see the builds there. Obviously, Glaive was way far behind that entire game, like we mentioned a lot. But only 1 death coming out for that pedal, and this seems like a revamped UMKC team. Like from last week to this week, I am in nothing but awe so far of how well they're playing.
Yeah, definitely a night and day Jekyll and Hyde type flip around from UMKC. Just completely making all of the right decisions, knowing when to rotate in the jungle, knowing when to push their advantage. A few positioning errors by Nike that I think that Maryville could take advantage of if they get a better comp. A little bit of hesitation early in the game, Nike not quite understanding how powerful he was on that pedal in the first few levels. But other than that, UMKC just dominated.
Yeah, it was well done, and it's going to be interesting to see if Maryville is going to be able to like re-collaborate themselves here and rethink about what happened, and hopefully, I mean, the biggest change I feel like they need to do is be able to kind of have a safer jungle phase so they don't give away so much, because Glaive was just so far behind that entire game. It was almost ridiculous, and it looks like we're actually going to be ready to jump into our next game quite quick here. So I'm going to work on making sure we got all our stuff updated right quick here. If you want to go on and have anything else to say.
I really want to see, and I don't know if they'll be able to do it in just one match, but Maryville needed to understand how to counter the actions of UMKC. They could have, like, when you pick a glaive, your goal is to get as many ganks on that laner as possible, and they just weren't doing it. They were constantly walking back into their jungle trying to fight this pedal who's just too strong, and completely losing the jungle, as where the glaive could have rotated up in the lane, set some picks with that afterburn on the Ringo, and really helped his laner get ahead, so they could have been on more even footing as a team. So we're jumping into the draft here. UMKC with first ban. I am expecting probably a Grace ban. I believe that seems to be there. Oh no, they're going to take the Idris away here, which is a good ban, in my opinion. The captains with the whole revamp. We see the Catherine come out, look as the ban. Maybe Maryville understanding that UMKC really favors that Catherine. So we'll have to see who UMKC is going to take first here. I'm going to expect the Arden being one of the stronger
Yeah,
of the
Arden
captains.
first pick.
Yep, and we see Arden come out on the first pick, and so let's see how Maryville responds.
Yeah.
One thing that I will point out about this new meta and Arden being so strong and Catherine and Grace not necessarily getting as much priority is it opens things up like Ozo and Rona, heroes who really struggle against the stuns. Arden not offering a stun other than his gauntlet wall, which I don't consider a reliable stun. So we have Grace and Ringo
Yeah,
into Arden.
and they're gonna take the pedal again. It looks like as well. Like the Maryville took the Ringo, so they decided to go with the Grace, and then they're like, oh, well, pedal worked. And they were kind of notorious for this last week. They felt like they stayed in their draft patterns almost exactly. So we'll see if this is if they're going to be able to roll this matchup as easily as last time. But it looks like maybe a Cruel coming out. Yep, looks like Cruel last pick is going to come out. That's kind of
the Cruel last pick is an interesting one. We'll have to see how they play it. Probably going double weapon, but you just pick Cruel into a pedal, who is another hero that is traditionally countered by pedal. The Frostburn really is what helps pedal counter Cruel, so we'll see how Cruel can work into this pedal. I would have really liked to see an Ozo come out there. No stuns. You do have the aces high, but just Ozo would be able to just jump on that back line, blow up both Petal and Gwen in this scenario, and Arden would have nothing that he was able to do to defend it other than throw down a gauntlet and hope that Ozo falls into or runs into a wall.
Yeah, that's a good point to point out. I think Ozo would have been a great pick here, especially with Petal being so squishy in a lot of those senses. Those aftershock users like Ozo are very potent on the damage dealing they can do, and if he lands all his acro bounces, he can almost take a Petal out by himself with just one acro bounce and one 3-ring circus rotation from the Ozo. But we'll see how it goes. Looks like UKMC going to come out and start in the fronts again, whereas Cruel for Maryville is going to start in the backs, and both people in the middle are in the lane going to trade a little bit of damage. Looks like they're both going to go passive again, but UMKC takes out the middle Elder Treant there, knowing that Maryville wasn't nearby, and they're gonna again press the advantage with the pedal. But here comes the quick rotation down. This is exactly what they needed to do. Ringo on top of Petal getting really low. Is he going to be able to get him, though? It doesn't look like with that flask off. He's going to stay alive, and then Gwen coming in to buckshot people off to give a little bit of a slow. They should be able to get out of this. Arden kind of way back off in the boondocks here, but now the complete turn on the pressure. Deadman Rush coming in. Not enough damage to finish off the Petal. Now Ringo's in trouble with some damage coming from Arden, and maybe they overcommitted here, Maryville. I'm not entirely sure. It looked really well for them, but they weren't able to secure any kills. But backing off now is probably the best idea if they get this. Not too bad.
Yeah, not really able to secure any kills. Probably overextending, but it does look like they're going to be able to get out unscathed. No boots on the scroll, so he wasn't able to chase down the Petal. Smite was on cooldown when he had the opportunity to. Nike now rotating on 3-or, just pushing this advantage with Petal against this Kroll. I think right here, 3-or needs to really just turn around and dead man's rush Nike.
Yeah. I don't think, unless the root, even with the root coming out, it's not enough. And Nike obviously understanding the Petal Cruel matchup, and he's like, oh, okay, well, your Catherine or your Grace is in lane. That means your Cruel's alone. I'm gonna go over here and 1v1 him. And again, taking that early kill and now early jungle rotations away from 3-or. He's gonna struggle, I feel like, a lot again this match. As long as they need to find a way to keep Petal out of their jungle, which is probably gonna be Vision, I would assume, but they need to find a way around this, and they need to find a way around it quickly because they can't let this Petal snowball again.
Yeah, I think what they need, and in this situation they weren't in a position because of the previous overextension all the way into the enemy jungle's backs. But they're going to need to see more rotations from Sasko like they saw early in the match there.
Does he get him? Yeah, he does. Petal with the run down there. A little bit of an odd decision by 3-or to try and come back in there. He went into his own mustache brush there, but he didn't try to get his his From the Shadows buff for his passive to try and come out. He just kind of dead man rushed out, almost carelessly, and it does end up costing him his life. And again, his back jungle is completely taken by this Petal and Arden.
Yeah, and we're seeing very much a repeat of the first match. Nike at 14 farm, 3 ors, only at 5 CS. So really struggling.
And they're struggling in lane too, because this Gwen was pushing out, knowing that both of the members of Maryville were in the back. That, you know, no fear to push up the lane and keep it shoved too.
Yeah, well, one thing to point out that I don't know if our viewers have noticed yet, but this is a crystal Ringo in this lane. Not going the double, not going the double weapon that I would have expected. Sometimes teams just rely too much on needing to have weapon and crystal, but what that does mean is, as he gets the kill on Dark Knight, but those Achilles shots are going to do a tremendous amount of damage, and when he does hit the Hellfire Brew, that is something that if UMKC does not prioritize defense against, is just going to annihilate them.
Yeah, and again, this Cruel getting caught out again by Petal and Arden and taking some tons of damage and just dying almost instantly. Like, they get that little respite of the Ringo getting the kill in lane, but again, Cruel just dies almost instantly, it feels like, and he's on the struggle bus again, man. I don't know what else to call it. He's just having a rough time in this jungle. It doesn't seem like anything they're doing is right for him, and they're just gonna have to, I think, like I said, vision and trying to just play safe is about one of the only things they can do as Arden kind of wanders into their team. And maybe they can buy some time by not losing so much in the jungle to give Sasko the ability to farm out and, you know, come into play, because CP Ringo does take a little bit longer to get online. Gauntlet coming out here gets both stunned. The Holy Nova comes out to stop the Arden, but unfortunately this Cruel is just going to get run down by this Petal, and even the Grace might die here too. There's no leap left, so no, it looks like she's okay. She does have a flask left, so.
Yeah, we are seeing 3-or struggle mightily here. One of the things that I'm noticing a playstyle on this Cruel is that he's not stopping in the bush to get his passive up, and Kroll functions almost completely on that passive.
And here comes that ulti out from the CP Ringo. Does a lot of damage, but it doesn't seem like it does as much because of the flash use by the Gwen. Keeps her relatively healthy, but you see that CP tick damage from the Hellfire Blue from the Ringo. Keeps her very low. She's going to have to not push up at all unless Arden wants to rotate. But again, Petal in the jungle, but she's by herself this time, unable to get the kill on Grace, and the 3-man collapse from Maryville does clean her up and gives them another kill. That's exactly what they needed to do. But again, same thing as last game, Petal getting a little bit overconfident and trying to push their lead maybe too much and giving away a kill. And they are not nearly as ahead as they were last game. They're still very far ahead by almost a little bit over 2k gold. But
yeah, but last game they were up 2k gold at 3 minutes. Now we see them up 2k gold at 7 minutes. So Maryville doing a decent job of kind of weathering the storm for the moment, but we're gonna have to see the approach from 3-or change. Not using his passive enough, doing too much running away, and there are a few heroes in Vainglory that if you decide to go backwards, you are 1,000 times weaker. And the 3 that come to mind are Cruel, Rhyme, and Jewel. Especially Jewel, because that's how her heroic perk works. But with Kroll and Rhyme, your fortified health, or in Kroll's case, your health regeneration, if you are not moving forward, you are going to die.
Yep, and also those weakness stacks can be a big deal from his Spectral Smite. And oh, that burst damage from the Gwen just blows him up with no armor on the Cruel. Comes back, he almost has that Sour Blade finished, and he already has the Tension Bow, so Gwen doing quite a bit of burst damage there. The no armor Cruel just caught out in no man's land again, just kind of running away and ends up dying. And they do end up getting the turret here, and Gwen is a little off page from the rest of his team there. His team went to do jungle, and he went forward to try and 1v2 the Ringo and the Grace. Cost him his life. Again, maybe a little bit of overconfidence and maybe a little bit of miscommunication, but they did get the turret, and they did get the kill on Cruel. They probably didn't need the trade over the Gwen kill, but Maryville trying to take what they can. They really just need to buckle down, and I really think they need to try and use this cruel passive more, because for his passive from the shadows gives him that slow when he auto attacks people, and that could be a game changer in some of these instances when they're trying to chase down Petal or Gwen.
Yeah, and just need to see Maryville work more together as a unit. I mean, if you look at the map right now, you have Grace over by the gold mine, Kroll in his backs, and Ringo coming out of base. You almost can't get spread further apart in this game, so they really need to work as a unit a little bit better, as we see them trying to defend their Crystal Sentry, but that's simply not going to happen. Krishna drops the gauntlet, Wei Ting with a double Holy Nova there, and the Hellfire Brew comes out.
Oh, the From Hell's Heart hits the Petal. Petal almost going down. She does still have her trampoline left. Gets out. Ace's High hits on the Ringo. Both teams kind of trying to kite back, but this is going to be an advantage for Maryville. They're trying to get in there. Cruel still struggling to get in on top of anything. Unable to do so. And that kind of wandering pace that he has without that the movement speed from his passive does end up getting him killed, but Ringo might be able to get 2 here. No, it looks like one's gonna come in and finish this off pretty easily. Yeah, the CP Ringo unable to do the 1v2 as well as a weapon power Ringo maybe, but struggling again. 3-or not using that passive. It felt like they had a decent fight, even though the gauntlet came down. The double Holy Nova bought them some time, but they weren't able to get on top of anybody again. Cruel just struggling again, not using that passive, and it not giving them that little bit of slow that could have changed the fight for them entirely, giving time to burst someone down.
Yeah, and so let's take a minute while we have probably a break in the action, and just take a look at the item builds a little bit. We have 3-or with this Breaking Point item first. I've never been a Breaking Point first fan on Cruel, just because he has no damage. And when you have a team that has Petal and Gwen, 2 of the squishiest heroes in the game, a Tension Bow would have went 1,000 times further than this Breaking Point ever will in this fight.
Yeah, and I feel like that is another thing that goes against how he's playing it too, is because he doesn't have that slow to build up those breaking point stacks, so it doesn't really help him out a whole lot. So that tension bow would have been a much better choice. Gwen kind of getting caught out here, but the gauntlet is there to kind of buy him some time. A good body block on the From Hell's Heart, and then the Crucible on the Hellfire Brew. It looks like UKMC is going to be able to, or UMKC is going to back off a little bit here, and they do end up getting the overcommitting Grace a little bit, and now Maryville in full retreat mode, trying to get out. I mean, I don't even think their miner is back up, but Cruel does not look like he's gonna live to see another day. Yep, Deadman Drusk to the Trent gets him out barely, but they're gonna lose the last life on that sentry again. A little bit later this time, maybe not as clean from UMKC, but they are still getting those objectives. They still are rotating as a team. They're doing fairly well overall. Maybe a little bit of oversteps, some overconfidence, but they're looking pretty clean, and Maryville's going to have to buckle down here again. They really need to stop overcommitting and try and stay as a unit, I feel like, is the only chance they have.
Absolutely, and we are seeing now Maryville dropping almost 6K, about 5.5K gold behind. We see a Shiver Steel second item come out on this Grace, which to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense because there's nobody to really slow. Gwen can use her skedaddle to get out. Petal can trampoline away. What I really would have liked to see Wei Ting buy here are some war treads to help with this engagement that Cruel is just lacking.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been a much better idea, but here comes the no Crystal Sentry push into it. Grace is a little far ahead. They're going to come out with the Hellfire Brew right away. The stun was onto Arden, so there was no Crucible there, but Grace is going to die. Looks like this... I don't know what stunned Arden, but it stopped his gauntlet, but it's not really going to matter because they're just going to keep pushing forward. Petal got a little low there, but there's still a Fountain and a Crucible up on the side of UMKC. Oh my gosh. I'm messing up the abbreviations here. Missouri, Kansas City, doing well there. They still have a lot of their defensive cooldowns up, and again, Maryville just kind of awkwardly engaging, and I feel that Shiver Steel again. I mean, they kind of need the slow, but not on the Grace. Like, I feel like you said, War Treads would have been a much better option for them to try and keep
Plus,
their entire team on top of people.
yeah. Plus, on top of it, if 3-0 was playing the Cruel properly and building his heroic perk up, he has a slow. Sasko on this Ringo has a slow with the Achilles shot. Shiver Steel just not something that you need to see in this comp, and they're just struggling to engage and to disengage. So War Treads would have helped them out both ways. I'd really like to see War Treads come out on Wei Ting and on 3-or just for an engage and a disengage.
And here comes another fight. Grace gets on the background. Holy Nova comes out, only hits the Arden, but Cruel's already running away from this fight, and that just spells complete disaster for them. He got hit early on in the fight and then started running away, and at that point, as a Grace and a captain, if you're already in the middle of the fight, you're pretty much up the creek without a paddle there, because you can't do much there once your team kind of abandons you and you've already engaged with that benediction.
Yeah, we see the hell from Hell's Heart come out from 3-or maybe a little prematurely, but then he just takes so much damage to the face from Dark Knight and from Nike that he just has to turn around and run away before he can even do a dead man's rush in after that stun. So it really not paying off. He didn't build his passive. And if people are wondering what we're talking about on Kroll, you have to hold still in the bush for a certain amount of time, and there's actually a little white bar underneath that shows you when that heroic perk is engaged. And when you watch like the VG8 level, you will see Kroll players just sit in just about every bush they walk through, even to the extent of sitting there and taking damage from an enemy hero before they decide to move, because that perk is just so important to Kroll's kill.
They did just stun out Arden from the gauntlet again. That was relatively impressive. But Cruel, again, just kind of walking into fights. Like, he deadman dressed the Arden there and kind of got himself, like, again, just stuck in the middle of nothing by himself. And Grace trying to go in with that benediction to try and deter some of the damage from the Gwen and stuff and land those Holy Novas, she goes in, and then halfway through it, Cruel's already running away, and she's, again, left there to die for her team. Unfortunate for waiting. The idea with Grace and Cruel is to get on top of somebody and to stay on top of them. It shouldn't be this hard for them, but again, we're not seeing that passive used by Cruel, which would give him the bonus movement speed and the slow on hit, which could entirely change a fight, because that slow on hit is enough. If there's no one, if they're not ready for it, or if there's a good positioning by Grace, you can probably land a Holy Nova with a slow from the Cruel, and that could completely change a fight, because that's a lot of CC. Again, on the side of UMKC, they do have a lot of ways of getting out of that with the trampoline on the pedal, or trampoline on pedal, and then the skedaddle on the Gwen. But it would just put so much more pressure onto at UMKC, and unfortunately, it looks like they're going to have to pull back here again. The ult coming out from Grace to try and keep the Cruel healthy, but it doesn't look like, they're going to lose Grace again. This is a weird place to fight for them. I mean, they want to fight by the turret, but, this is exactly where Krishna wants to throw his gauntlet like he just did to catch out the Cruel. And now it's a 3v1 with the Kraken pushing again, and it looks like UMKC might actually pull out a 2-0 here.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that we're not seeing, because Kroll just can't stay engaged, is he's not building weakness stacks. So the side of UMKC is just able to go full force and use all of their damage as they pull off the win. A 2-0 victory, very convincing, just like the last one, 16-4. And UMKC getting their first win on the season, pulling themselves right back into the thick of the standings and giving themselves a chance to actually make something of the season.
Yeah, it was really impressive. We mentioned that before the game even started, that they were struggling. They were the team that was 0-2 and that felt almost lost last week when we casted them. They felt just not together or in unison at all. And then this week they come in, and both Nike and Krishna staying together almost the entire time. It felt like they knew what they wanted to do on this pedal. They wanted to press the lead early. They wanted to get early kills and take out over the jungle, and they did just that in both games. And whether that been Maryville having some struggles with their jungle picks and stuff like that, it does come down to the fact that they did execute it well. UMKC obviously putting some practice in, so props to them for some really, really good play this week. I mean, a little bit of missteps here and there, but leaps and bounds better from last week.
Definitely leaps and bounds better for UMKC. Maryville really just needs to go back to the drawing board. Hopefully, rewatch these videos of their matches and think about what they could have done differently. Because again, we just saw Nike on this pedal taking over the jungle with no reaction, no response from 3, or Kroll, another character like Glaive, who is great at ganking. Could have been, if you're giving up the jungle, you might as well just go up to the lane, help your laner get that advantage, and we just didn't see it. Dark Knight with a 116 to 77 CS advantage. Nike nearly out farming Sasco, even though Nike is in the jungle with 68 CS. And just another dominating performance, which is very surprising. I didn't have high hopes for UMKC after casting their match last week, but that just goes to show you that here in the CSL, this season is kind of all up for grabs with lots of surprises coming out. A very exciting season up ahead of us, and all the more reason to come back and watch.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, and to see a team progress like this in just such a short time, this isn't even a full week. This is from Thursday to Tuesday. They went from struggling to dominating in like 4 days, which to me feels like they got together on this weekend and played some games out. Maybe they watched some VG8. Maybe they learned how to rotate better from that. But whatever they did, they should keep doing it because it was well done, and I'm looking forward to seeing UMKC more in the future.
Yeah, and we've got to ask ourselves, and other teams need to ask themselves, when is this pedal going to start getting banned from Nike? Because if I recall, it's what he was playing on Thursday's match as well, even though they weren't as successful. It's clearly a comfort pick for him. So I think teams need to adapt and start putting him on something else.
Yeah, definitely. They need to pay attention to that, do a little bit of scouting as well. But I'm going to throw up here real quick, guys. We're going to look at the schedule. So we did have Maryville versus Missouri Kansas City today. And on Thursday, we're going to be looking at the University of Texas Arlington versus the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. So that's going to be our Thursday match. It will start at 4 p.m. Pacific time, so be heads up on that, guys. So we're gonna get to see 2 brand new teams play that we haven't seen quite play yet, so it's gonna be really interesting. And then don't forget, guys, the big one on Halloween, Utah versus Cal State Fullerton, the rematch from the E3 finals. If I do recall correctly, I'm 95% sure that those are the 2 teams that played in the finals. And Utah, I believe Cal State Fullerton 3-0'd that group. If I want to double check that here in a second, but that's going to be the rematch from those live E3 finals, and that's going to be super fun. It will be on Halloween as well, so before you guys go out and have some fun with your parties on a Tuesday there, you can come by, hang out with us. But don't forget, Thursday for UT Arlington versus UT Rio Grande, and then Halloween for that rematch from E3 finals. Again, guys, I'm SRuff. You can follow me on Twitter at the SRuff. I also stream on Twitch a lot. I'm a VG person. That's what I do. I play VG mainly. I also play Vainglory and all sorts of other stuff. But if you guys want to come by and check me out, feel free. And then, again, thank you to Belligerent, who is our current resident VG expert. He is the coach for Nova Esports, and I'll pass it off to him if he has anything else he wants to tell you guys.
I'm just really excited to see what else is going to come out of the season for the matches that you just mentioned. And this one was a great match to be a part of, just being able to watch this team just develop in just a few days, like you mentioned. So really excited for what's coming up. And I want to see how more of these teams develop, and just see what these teams bring to the 2.9 meta and beyond.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, I'm looking, 2.9 itself has made me very excited after VG8 this weekend, and after the start of CSL VG. We'll see. I feel like we need to see CSL, maybe some of the collegiate teams develop a little bit more with the meta. I feel like Catherine's not the greatest pick anymore. You don't need to probably 100% pick ban her, but that's my own opinion. But we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see, like you said, these teams play and grow, because the competition is doing nothing but getting better, and it's only been a couple days. So I'm very, very excited to see how the rest of the season goes.
Absolutely.
And I think that's going to be it from us, guys. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Don't forget to check us out on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern when we go live with our next Vainglory CSL match, guys. Have a great night.
Have a good one.